Deltarune's hometown. Many people would say its biggest crisis is the inevitable flood of darkness foretold by time and space, but today I want to look at the issues facing the hard-working, everyday Lightners that live here, the local economy. We need to calculate the unemployment rate of Deltarune's hometown, and to do that, I'll be conducting a direct survey, going up to every hometown resident we can find across the first 4 chapters, and determining whether or not they are employed or unemployed. Well, since we're starting out here in the school, we can get Alphys and Toriel as being employed as teachers. Don't think too hard about the logic of this being a school with only 2 teachers and not even like a principal. It's kind of implied that there are more staff here, or at least chaperones for the Sadie Hawkman's dance. I don't really think that Toriel is out there wearing a giant hawk head, but who knows? Maybe Alphys is dressed as a hawk too. But we can't really count other people who don't like show up physically, who we can't meet. I mean, this is a direct survey, you know, so we have to actually see them to know that they exist. All right, well, now we can head over to the library where we see first and foremost Birdly over here. Now, he may look like he's running the library, but he does mention that he is a volunteer assistant, and we don't actually count volunteers as being employed or unemployed. So he just doesn't get to be a part of the tally. We also see Temmie and Jockington over here, who are children, presumably. Jockington's an athlete, but he's a school athlete, and they do not get paid. We do not count children as part of the workforce. We do not count people who are not of working age. And even if they are of working age, they are not considered unemployed unless they are actively looking for a job and just, you know, failing at it. So if you're a student who is focused full-time on education, you're not going to be counted as employed or unemployed, unless, of course, you do have a job. That brings us to this guy, though. He loves reading books. It could be implied that they work here, but they're doing a really bad job if that's the case. All right, let's go this way. Now, these guys are in their cars, and you could sort of take that as an implication that they are driving somewhere, perhaps driving to work. I don't necessarily know where else there would be to drive. We don't exactly know if they are from outside of town even. But to give them the benefit of the doubt, we will just say that these guys, you know, if you've got a car, if you're driving around, you got to be paying for gas money, right? And so assuming that these guys are residents of hometown, which they do happen to be driving around here a lot, so we'll assume that, then we would count these guys as employed as well. And of course, right here we have Officer Undyne, who is obviously counting as employed. Going into the hospital, we have a nurse thing. This creature right here, and they are definitely employed. Now, this guy over here is in the hospital, but we do see him in future chapters working for Ice-E's Pizza, I believe. So we're going to count him when we see him then. All right, so now we have Rudy Holiday, and this is kind of interesting because, you know, he's in the hospital and whatnot. His wife, Carol, works for the city. She is very much employed as the mayor. Okay, I looked it up, and in the US, yes, lots of big city mayors' spouses are often referred to as First Lady or First Gentleman, but it's an informal title, not an official post or like a salary paying position. We don't really know for sure if hometown is supposed to be based on the United States. I mean, they have crappy schools and a bunch of cars all over the place, so potentially, but either way, it doesn't really matter. He would be considered somebody who is disabled, who is either permanently or even temporarily unable to work, so he does not count towards our total. Father Alvin is a pastor, it seems like, and typically, if this is his full-time vocation, it would probably be a paid position, which would count him as being employed. All right, over in Town Hall, we're definitely going to see a lot of employed people here. This is a receptionist, so I think that is definitely a job. This guy, he's a politician. Now, I would assume that he has like an actual meaningful position. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, politicians who are campaigning but not currently holding office are generally not considered unemployed unless they meet specific criteria. I think we'll just be generous and say that this man is employed. And we have this funny guy right here. I mean, he's got a suit, he's got a suitcase, it looks like. Definitely giving off employed energy, that's for sure. So Sans owns a shop, and he does make it pretty clear that he is the shop's singular employee. So that counts him as employed. His brother Papyrus, on the other hand, just kind of sits around in the house all day. So unless it's secretly being the Roaring Knight counts as an occupation, I would consider Papyrus to be unemployed. All right, now we have these apartment complexes over here. Let's see if anybody is willing to participate in the Bureau of Labor Statistics unemployment survey. Oh, are you the human that lives on top of town? Wow, my mommy told me about you. Okay, so the only person who answers here is a child, and they do not count towards our total. I wish people here would be a little more cooperative with the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And then we have this guy. That sounds like the knock of a beginner. Come back when you've gotten better at knocking. They're like the door knock raider, I guess you could say. Does that count as an occupation? I mean, they don't seem to be getting paid for it. And because we don't really see this person anywhere outside of their home, I'd have to consider them unemployed. We have Monster Kid and Snowy over here. They are also children. So this guy is employed. This guy is employed. Pizza Pants is employed. They are all employed at Ice Ease Pizza, a nice little chain restaurant establishment over here, creating lots of job opportunities for the local residents of hometown. You'll love to see it. Then we have a local diner run by QC. We have you. This is kind of why I've been glossing over the children who are in Chris's class, because Caddy here is employed, which implies that she is of working age. We know that all of these, children at the school are older, like in their teen years, and we don't exactly know what the minimum employment age of hometown is. But I guess what we do know is that Caddy is working here, which means she is employed, and assuming that it is legal employment of someone of a working age, that would count her as employed. You may wonder if this would mean that all of Chris's classmates are technically unemployed, considering that they are not working a job like Caddy is. But like I said earlier, if you are a full-time student, you do not count as being a part of the labor force, and so it doesn't actually matter. Anyways, we got this funny mole guy over here, and they do not seem to have a job, so we're going to count them as unemployed. These two guys sitting right here are customers, and we do not see them working at any other establishments, so they are also unemployed. And Ice Wolf, I believe we see them working, putting up decorations for the town hall in a future chapter. So we'll determine then whether or not he is employed or if he's just a volunteer for the city. And then we have these three hippo guys over here who I've literally never seen before in my life. I mean, they seem to be representing the classic ideal nuclear family over here, which would imply a stay-at-home mom and then 2 children. If I remember correctly, you have a job in Undertale, but I don't believe there's any reference that you have an occupation in the Deltarune universe, so we're gonna count you as unemployed. You are just a full-on guy. You are a straight up a dad. I'm gonna be generous and assume that he is like the breadwinner of the house, so I guess we can count him as being employed. I mean, I don't know, you don't lose your arm from being a stay-at-home dad, I don't think I've ever seen you do anything other than like just standing around, I think we'll consider you to be unemployed. Okay, so Metaton is in here, right? And they don't seem to be employed. So Metaton, unfortunately, you are unemployed. Asgore, I mean, we don't even need to go in here, but like, we might as well just to see him. We already know the answer. Asgore is employed, although very scarcely, but he is running a small business. He does make some kind of income. Maybe he owes a lot of money in taxes, or maybe he owes a lot of money to the divorce settlement. But other than that, I mean, this guy is an employed man if I've ever seen one. All right, these guys, I mean, despite not being royal guards due to the fact that there is no royalty in this universe. They do still have the helmets on. I don't think that they are employed, though. They do just kind of hang out all over the place, right? So I guess we count them as unemployed? Sorry, guys. Alright, so Onion-san is definitely unemployed, right? The real question here isn't if they're unemployed, but if they are a resident of hometown. Because they technically live at like the bottom of the ocean or in this lake or whatever the heck this is. I think for the sake of it, because, you know, we can assume that all Undertale characters that we see are residents of hometown. That's like the whole bit of hometown. We'll just lump Onion-san in with the rest of them, and we will count them as being unemployed. Alright, if I'm not mistaken, that wraps it up for Deltarune Chapter 1. So let's move on over to Deltarune Chapter 2 and see if we can't meet any new people. Deltarune Chapter 2 gives us a look at Nabstablook, who is absolutely an employed little ghost over here. Now, somebody already let the dogs out, but luckily for us, prison inmates are not considered unemployed or employed or part of the labor force at all, so that's fine. We have a new face in the hospital, although again, it doesn't matter because they are in the hospital. Alright, well, we're moving on down here, and here's the thing, right? Initially, I did a take of this and I counted all of these guys as being unemployed because they don't have jobs, but this little guy right here actually confirms that all of these guys, all of these characters are children. Presumably the kids who Toriel teaches at the school, which would mean that they do not count for the labor total at all. We do have this guy in here though. Alright, well, we have some new faces over here. You thought this was the post office. This implies that you know what a post office is and have business going to a post office, which means you are, like, an adult, presumably, or of working age, but I don't see you having a job, so unfortunately, we're gonna have to mark you as being unemployed. Then we have Mrs. Kattenheimer, I believe. This is definitely unemployed behavior if I've ever seen it. I mean, we love stay-at-home moms here, but also, you are are you just like Twink Aaron? Is that the bit? I mean, you seem all fancy, you seem like you are of working age, but you also do not seem to be working, and so we're gonna mark you as being unemployed. So we did not count you as being employed because you were in the hospital, but now you are back in the workplace. You'll love to see it. Quite a speedy recovery. So you are definitely employed. And this is the Nice Cream guy, referring to people as coworkers and stuff, so you're definitely employed here, so that's another employed person. Ice Wolf, are you doing anything? You're the only customer? That's awesome. We'll give you until Chapter 4 to prove that you have a job. Are you employed? You are old, but you don't seem to be employed or like you're going anywhere. You're just kind of loitering outside of this shop in the middle of the day. We're gonna count you as being unemployed. You're a shopper. I guess this does imply some sort of income, right? So we could kind of make the assumption that you are employed because you are here at the shop purchasing food. Meanwhile, we have this freak over here who is the professional milk looker. I guess we could also make the assumption that if he's buying milk, then he has a job, but he also it doesn't seem like he's buying the milk. He just says that he's looking at it. So I don't know, man. That's an unemployed activity if I've ever heard it. We're gonna count you as unemployed. What the heck are you? I swear I've never seen this guy before. My brother's too old to take for a walk anymore. I'm aimless. I wish I had someone to whip me into shape. Honestly, if you're aimless, the best thing you could do is get a job, but since it seems like you're not doing that, we're gonna have to mark you as unemployed. What is your deal? I wanted to buy flowers, but the store is closed. I guess if you're buying flowers, you have some sort of income, or maybe some kind of allowance money. So we can be generous and say that you are employed. By the way, I have the tally up next to me. I'm like actively keeping track of all the employed and unemployed NPCs. So if it seems like I'm being too generous here, don't worry. They need all the help they can get. It's not looking good for hometown, but don't worry. We still have one more chapter left to check. All right, here we are in Chapter 4. Let's see if we can't meet any new people. I think that this little freak right here is the only new character we haven't seen before. We could assume that because they're here at the restaurant, they might have money, but also, if you recall, this lion lady over here works at the restaurant, and because they're sitting next to each other, we could make the assumption that, like, the lion is the one who's paying for everything, and this little weird Omori looking freak over here is unemployed. So I think we're just gonna do that. It'll make up for our generosity from earlier. Okay, you see what I mean? This guy is definitely not employed. All right, we have 5 inmates over here, but the thing is, they're not inmates anymore. They're certainly outmates. If you know anything about the Deltarune lore, you know that the police office is not particularly functional currently due to a certain someone being missing. And so without the home of a correctional facility, these guys are just out here existing as normal people. And because they don't seem to have any intention of getting a real job to pay for these books, we're gonna have to count the 5 of them as being unemployed. Ice Wolf, I actually wanted to talk to you. So Fa Fa, I get, is that what their name is supposed to be? Fa Fa? They're preparing for the festival. The question is if this is a paid job, which I would assume that it is, right? I think we can be generous and say that Ice Wolf has a job. He's working for the city, he's working for the mayor, doing labor. I mean, we saw them in Undertale as well. They were doing a lot of manual labor in Snowdin Town as well. So I think that's fine. Okay, these guys are actually important. This is a little bit of a tough position for sure financially, but if he is a single father, I'm gonna assume that he has to be the one bringing in income for his household, so he counts as being employed for sure. Okay, this rat is new actually. They mentioned that they used to babysit for Chris and Noelle, which does imply that they have a job. That is technically a job, being a babysitter. So we'll add them to the employment count. Who the heck is this, bro? Okay, well, hold on. They do have a briefcase on them, and they got fancy shoes. They could be kind of cooking. I'm gonna say if you've got fancy shoes like that, you got a briefcase on you, you're definitely giving employment, that's for sure. We'll add you to the employment count. This old lady over here is Gerson's grandma, or I got not grandma, but is it Alvin's mother or something? They seem very much old. They seem very elderly and retired, and so I don't think we have to count her because elderly, retired people do not count for unemployment surveys. All right, well, that should be everybody in Hometown. Certainly everybody that we can see and talk to in Hometown. Again, all of the students at Chris's class and the little children who are presumably in Toriel's class, they do not count. They are either too young to be working or they are full-time students, unless you happen to be Caddy, who is for some reason employed. So in case you're unaware, at this point, we just have to take the total number of unemployed people and divide it by the total labor force. And when we actually crunch all of the numbers based on our direct survey that we just performed across all 4 chapters, we get, drumroll please, a 49% unemployment rate. Again, that's excluding all of the children and all of the people who aren't eligible to be in the labor force. This is out of everybody who could get a job, 49% of them do not have a job. Now, for reference, in case you were unaware, a good unemployment rate is generally considered to be between 3% and 5%. This is certainly not within that range, and I definitely think that the mayor of Hometown needs to do something about this, right? I personally believe that Hometown will suffer from an economic depression much sooner than it will suffer from the roaring from the prophecy. Anyways, subscribe for more high-quality Deltarune analysis. I post a video every week. The last one was certainly a banger. Thank you to all of my patrons who you can see on the screen. For as little as $1 a month, you can support me directly and also get videos a little bit early. Anyways, thanks for watching till the end, and I'll see you all in the next video.